Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. Big news! The Rugby Championship is going to continue and not going anywhere yet. A big press release coming from SANZAAR confirming a new exciting international calendar for the years 2026 to 2030, which will keep the Rugby Championship as a hallmark event in the yearly calendar, especially when not in the international tours years. But more importantly, the first ever full Rugby Championship will be played in a World Cup year, which is perfect from a Springbok point of view with regards to preparations going into the 2027 World Cup. And I think what we've seen is a lot of pressure worldwide, really, on SANZAAR to keep the Rugby Championship, in the closest thing to its current form as possible, given how good of a Rugby Championship we have just seen. And the new structure does lend towards keeping the Rugby Championship, but it does also accommodate a shift to potential new tours and new innovations. I always think it's a good thing. Innovation is what you need in any sport, in any federation, and any tournament, for example. But you need to make sure you're doing the right type of innovating and you're kind of getting the balance right at all times. And we've now got a new structure, which we'll have to wait and see with regards to just how well it does function. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, let's get through the press release, shall we? So it came out this morning. They have confirmed a new exciting international calendar for the next 5 years. It says that it reflects the evolving requirements of its member unions, as well as its broadcasters and fans. And you spoke about the fact that things have been going on for 3 decades, for example. Now, this is the important thing. It will see the Rugby Championship be played in 2027, 2028, and 2029. Now, importantly, there will be a full Rugby Championship in 2027. Now, this was the problem, is that people talking about the fact that after such an amazing Rugby Championship, the next time we get a full iteration of the tournament would be, 2029. It's not. It's going to be 2027. And I think that is 2028 or 2030 even. And that's not going to be the case. We are going to get this in 2 years' time. And that means that there is space still for the greatest rivalry tour, which is obviously the Springbok versus New Zealand tour, which is happening next year. It also accommodates the likes of a British and Irish Lions tour as well. In terms of the Nation Championship, this is what the World Rugby have been sort of mulling, the whole idea of the 12 biggest rugby nations in the world going into 2 rounds of fixtures in July and November every 2 years to decide the dominant nation, the balance of power between the two hemispheres, apparently. And then obviously you've got your Lions tours and the likes of that. So SANZAAR CEO Brendan Morris said as follows. He said, looking ahead, our joint venture is committed to driving the challenge of Southern Hemisphere rugby. By collaborating closely with our unions and valued broadcasting and commercial partners, we've developed an innovative calendar designed to deliver thrilling rugby experiences and set new benchmarks for the game for years to come. The main takeaway here is he says that the future of Southern Hemisphere rugby is brighter than ever. Our member unions have a proud record of the international stage, and SANZAAR believes that this new calendar will assist in strengthening this record while delivering the fans unparalleled excitement and access to the world's best rugby. Let's have a look at the calendar, shall we? So, 2026, we will not have a Rugby Championship. In July, there is space for the Nations Championship, which we're still waiting to find out exactly how that's going to work, when that's going to take place with regards to dates. There will be the International Tour Series. That is the greatest rivalry tour, which will take place in August and September. In October, there will be the Bledisloe Cup, which is administered by SANZAAR. And in November, the Nations Championship will form part of your Autumn Nations Series. Then, in 2027, we will have a full Rugby Championship between July and August. There will be a month break in September before we then have the Men's Rugby World Cup in Australia in October and November. So a full Rugby Championship will basically become our World Cup preparation. I imagine we'll get a game or two in September as well. In the 2028 season, we will then have a very orthodox season in terms of having the Nations Championship supposedly in July, and then August, September, as we have this year, even I suppose stretching to October, we will have a full Rugby Championship once again. Then in 2029, there will be a Lions tour to New Zealand and inbound tours, but however, that will not affect the fact that we will still have a full Rugby Championship in 2029. And also mention the fact that there's the Women's Rugby World Cup in over that period as well, which means that obviously certain stadiums might change and venues might change, and they might even do a bit of alignment to try and drive maybe a weekend of rugby in Australia amongst that. And then obviously in November, there will be the Orthodox Northern Autumn Series in 2029. Then 2030, once again, will be an international tour series year. The Greatest Rivalry Tour this time will take place in New Zealand. We're waiting to see exactly what will happen if Australia, for example, will do a similar thing with Argentina. But basically, the main thing is that it'll be 3 rugby championships years, 1 year off, back to 3. And at this stage, moving forward, it means that we will have a full rugby championship always. We will never have a truncated rugby championship again, like we've seen in World Cup years with single round fixtures, for example. So it's a bit of parity, I think, really. You know, we are losing the rugby championship every 4 years, which I think we basically already had. If you look at World Cup years, you know, that three match rugby championship, 3-round rugby championship is a bit of a joke. Nobody really likes it. So basically, that has been replaced. Not necessarily in the same year, but it's been replaced by not having the rugby championship and going to a Greatest Rivalry Tour. Instead of that, they then have a full rugby championship in World Cup years. So now, when the rugby championship is played, it will be a full rugby championship at all times. It will be a full 6-round, 2-month rugby championship. So I think that we've got the best of both worlds here. I do generally think that they have made the right decision. It's always nice when you say that because it's not always the case. But I think that they found the balance right. I think things like the Greatest Rivalry Tour is commercially too important and too big to stop, for example, and to not have. But you've got to preserve the Rugby Championship because it has produced one of the most thrilling seasons we've ever had of the Rugby Championship. And to now lose a tournament, you know, to having it only happening every 2 to 3 years, you know, is very worrying. And we thought that we might not have another tournament like this until 2029, for example. That's not going to be the case. We will have this in 2027. So the Rugby Championship will take a break next year. We will be able to see what the Greatest Rivalry Tour looks like and whether that, for example, becomes viable. I think it will be. I think it's going to be very successful. And then we'll have a full Rugby Championship back again in 2027, which means that in 2027, the Box could do a genuine double of the Rugby Championship and the World Cup, and it will be a full Rugby Championship, which is really, really exciting. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know what you predict is going to happen and whether you think it's going to be a success. I think also the main thing as well, if you're an Australian, New Zealand fans, the Bledisloe Cup is being protected in non-rugby championship years. The Bledisloe Cup will still take place. So you will still have those double tests for the Bledisloe Cup. So I think it's good. I think it's exciting and glad to see the Rugby Championship is not fading away. Yes, we might not get it as many as often as we used to, but we are still at least going to get the full iterations of it when we do get it. So what do you think? Let me know. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.